we just can't live with the idea of just playing church.
Come on.
We just can't live with that idea, because what this tells us is that God intervenes. God intervenes. God intervening on your behalf. God intervenes on my behalf. I cannot tell you how many times He's intervened on my behalf, and in ways that just blow my mind. Just blow my mind. Sometimes in really wonderful ways when I was in very dark, difficult spaces, but other times in just practical ways. A few years back, I received a tax bill for $118,000. And that got my attention. I couldn't breathe. I thought my life will be different from now on. I'm going to live in a box, in a van down by the river. Fortunately, I had a very wealthy friend who had a very good tax attorney, and it was because there was this paper they didn't have that I had signed in 1983. I probably don't have a paper that you handed me on Monday. I just get rid of paper as soon as I can get rid of it. Somebody goes, "Here, you want that?" No. I don't know. What am I going to do with this? Put it in with all that other paper? And so he had this, tax guy, and the guy said, "Well, if you find that paper, we're going to be okay." And I'm like, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to find that paper. And so I had this gal over at my house, and she's going through all my files and all my stuff and just getting it all organized, just for life. Just for life, not even to look for that paper. And all of a sudden she goes, "Do you need this?" I said, "What?" She goes, I said, "Yes, I need it." So I called my tax guy right then, and he said, "Go to a fax machine and fax me that right now." And he really got his attention. So I went to a fax machine, and he faxed it to the right office, and they said, "We're good. We're good." But the process, that's why I can wear this nice new shirt. But what happened is shut up. What happened is I accumulated a bill of about $12,000 with him. And he wasn't giving me that time. This time was worth a little bit of money. And and I paid it down about $9,000 of it. So I had $3,000 left. Well, I was painting in those days, and I got a little weekend job, and it really went well for me. I worked about probably really 12, 13 hours, and I made $3,000 net.
Wow.
So I was at home, I was sitting at my desk, and I had gotten that check from the people of $3,000, and I opened up the bill from this tax guy. It was $3,000. Took that check. I literally did this. I said, "The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." I was really glad and sad at the same time. But God He's that personal. I mean, there's so many thousands of stories I can tell you like that in people's lives and in my own life where somehow, unexplainably, Jesus met me right where I was at in my place of need. And I can't think of one instance where I could say, "And He did it because I deserved it. He did it because I prayed more. He did it because I tithe more. He did it because He did it because He loves me, and He's gracious, and He knows my condition, and He responds to me in my brokenness, my weakness, in kindness and in love." It's just the way He is. Just the way He is. So we should celebrate the Ascension, because it was through the Ascension the distribution of the Spirit came into all of us. And God will meet us where we're at, wherever you're at today. That's what He wants to do. He likes to intervene. Like I said, this book is a story of Him initiating and really us responding. He initiates, we respond. That's the uniqueness of the Christian faith, is that it's not God us reaching to God, climbing the ladder, doing a moral, all the right things morally. It's God reaching down and meeting us in the midst of our brokenness, the midst of our neediness, with his kindness and with his love and his mercy and his compassion. That's why he requires that we be compassionate and merciful to other people. Because he's done that to us. It says, he said, bless those who persecute you. Pray for those who despitefully use you. Forgive and you'll be forgiven. Be merciful and you'll be shown mercy. Because he's kind, the undeserving. The undeserving.
Wow.
You know? And that's who he is. One last point on the Ascension. What it does is when we see it, when we see what it did, that's the detonation, the point of the Father, of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. When we see that, it starts to change our view on everything. It changed the view so much on the disciples. We see a completely different group of people in Acts than we did in Luke. And not only that, we see these incredible things. We see people being martyred for the faith. And Stephen's the first one that we see. And when we read in Acts 6 and 7, we'll see that young man being stoned to death. And all of a sudden, in the midst of it, and that's a violent, ugly thing. In the midst of it, he looks up and he sees Jesus.
Wow.
Seated on the throne to which he ascended, seated on the throne at the right hand of God. And when we read this story, it's so amazing. And it's just, he glowed. It was like in the midst of a brutal, violent, ugly, stoning, murder, he was at complete and total peace because of what had happened inside of him. It wasn't his circumstances. It wasn't his situation. It was his hope. It was sitting there at the right hand of the Father. And that's what this gives us. The Ascension gives us a eternal perspective. Eternal perspective. And it transformed a group of a motley crew into the most dynamic, remarkable men. At that time there were just a handful of followers of Jesus, and not long after that there'd be 30. And then within 3,000 years, 300 years, there'd be 30 million Christians.
Great.
Have you ever read the Bible? Have you ever read about these guys that we're talking about here? It's like Manny, Mo, and Jack multiplied. They changed the world. Let's have the worship team come.
That's all.
Yeah.